What's going on, folks? TJ Lauerman, aka That Sports Gamer here, community manager for Out of the Park Baseball and MLB manager for OOTP Developments. We recently launched a bunch of info on Out of the Park Baseball 17, and for tonight's stream, I've brought on Out of the Park developer Matt Arnold to help discuss some of these features, and we can see what's cool. Matt, welcome to the stream.
Thanks for having me.
It's kind of chill here, so
Okay.
just be ready. Nobody's going to be jumping down your back, hopefully. So we announced that you can pre-order right now up till March 1st, and you can get Out of the Park 17 for $34.99. After that, it'll be $39.99. And pre-orders made before March 18th will include access to the VIP Gold Master Beta build 4 days prior to release.
A little bit of a mouthful there. But
Yeah. Gold Master Beta build is fun to say.
I think that's Marcus's language, is my guess. But
Yeah, so there's a ton of stuff in Out of the Park 17. Some stuff that I'm super excited about as someone who loves to do, like, what-if scenarios and pitting historical teams against each other. So I'm really looking forward to this release. So we're just going to kind of run down the page at ootpdevelopments.com, and if you click on the pre-order Out of the Park 17 link, this will take you to the same page that you're watching on the stream. For the first time ever, fully licensed by both MLBPA and MLB.com. Huge, right? Last year was the first year we were licensed by MLB.com, and now with the MLBPA license, we can do a lot more stuff, right?
yeah, no, it's good to get all the licenses in. And
Yeah, the main thing with that is that we can do all the face gen stuff. So now players will have like reactions on their face. In the past, we couldn't do that because of the licensing stuff.
yeah, I think we got a great batch of images for all the players. So I haven't had time to look through all of them, but the ones I've seen so far have been pretty spot on. So
Yeah, and a lot of people were wondering why not go with just actual pictures, because the face gen stuff gives us so much more flexibility. Like you can see the player's attitude, and when they get traded, you can see their updated uniforms and everything.
yeah, I think the main part is the uniforms and hats and stuff, and then you can also see them age a little bit. If you want to see Bryce Harper, what he looks like as a 40-year-old, I guess we'll be able to do that with face gen, hopefully. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but
All of the MLB teams, players, logos, including the projected 2016 opening day rosters, will be in there. Obvious. Over 150 authentic minor league clubs with real logos and leagues, along with 8 international and several independent leagues, all with real rosters. I love doing that stuff. I love going into Japan. I actually have we have a 3-month-old baby now. So last week, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I was woken up, at like 3 o'clock to feed him, and I watched some of the Australian Baseball League finals.
oh, cool.
So now I can go in there and play with some of that stuff. This year we had Pacoda last year, and now we switched to Zips. That's the big thing with the ratings.
Yeah, so we switched to Zips for this year. So
That's Dan, and that's done by Dan Zabrowski.
is that how you pronounce it? No, that's not.
Zimbrowski? Zimport? You know what? I literally have no idea.
I have no idea. So
Yeah,
but no, I like Zips. It's a good projection system. So
yeah, this is why I stick with the baseball stuff and not the hockey stuff, because I can't pronounce any of those names. But you know what? I'm not even gonna try.
yeah, we shouldn't. He is an OOTP player, so it's
Yeah, he should write in and tell us how to say it correctly.
tell us how to say it.
All new historical exhibition option. This is probably my favorite thing. You can pit any 2 teams throughout history against each other to play a single game or an up to a 9-game series, or replay any historic World Series matchup with accurate rosters. This literally might be my favorite thing, because there's nothing I want to do more than pit like the 95 Braves against anybody, because I assume the 95 Braves will win. Or, I mean, those 27 Yankees were probably pretty good. 94 Expos were good. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, it's unlimited possibilities there, pretty much. And then the other interesting part of that too, we can probably get into it later, is that if you want to pit the 95 Braves against the 27 Yankees, you can decide, do you want them to play in 1995 mode or 1927 mode?
Mm-hmm.
Or, pretty much anything in between. So you know, if you like the old time game, you can do that. If you like the modern game with all the crazy shifting, you can do that too. So
Yeah, and there was a way you could kind of do this before, but this makes it much more streamlined. Click a button, pick your teams, and go at it. We're gonna do something awesome with this later in the coming weeks. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but we're gonna have a lot of fun with that mode. A big thing a lot of people have been asking for is smarter, more cunning AI GMs and managers with individualized personal approaches to roster building, scouting, and finances. Next up, you know what? Here's the tough one. I love the all-new historical exhibition, but the authentic minor league systems from 1919 to 2015 with a database of more than 100,000 real players is kind of mind-blowing.
And I've also heard that the 100,000 is like a bare minimum of what we wanted to put on there. I think the actual number is like 150 or 160,000 or more.
People are like, "Hey, is this guy in it?" I'm like, "Yep, that guy's in it."
Yeah, I think it's if they've ever played minor league baseball, they are in the game.
Mm-hmm. And that includes people who help the Toon Squad defeat the Monstars, people who have won Super Bowls. So there's a whole. That's another, because I love doing the little historical resims and going back and seeing what would happen to one person, like if Ted Williams never went to World War II and stuff like that. So if a certain basketball player tried his hand at baseball and he only got a season because of a strike, maybe I can go in here and give him a long try. Let's see. So we have some of the pictures for the new MLB stuff. I don't know how well you'll be able to see the face gen stuff. We have Carlos Correa here looking very happy. I mean, if I was 21 years old, the starting shortstop for the Astros and Rookie of the Year, and probably an MVP candidate this year, I'd be pretty happy too. But yeah, and on this image, you can also see the new user interface. Do you have anything you want to say? Anything about the new user interface? Much cleaner.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot cleaner. It's, you're always a little bit, worried when you change the interface around, but, I've obviously been playing with it for a few months now, and whenever I go back to 16, it's sort of like, oh, I kind of like the new one a lot better. So if anyone's hesitant about it, give it a shot. It is nicer. It's more crisp. The little schedule box in the top right-hand corner is a pretty neat feature. We've even expanded it a little bit, I think, from what we have in those pictures there. So it's got, it'll give us a little bit more place to put info, display it a little bit nicer. So
yeah, I love that for when I'm tinkering around. I want to do a whole thing where I'm going to be the current day Braves and try to win the World Series by 2020. Since it seems like they're willing to trade anybody on their team for some young players for when they move into the new stadium. So putting out my trade offer, just clicking up on one of the dates up there and getting the response back is great.
Yeah.
I've also improved the in-game 3D engine with updated stadium, moving player symbols, and defensive shifts. You can't really see the player. I don't know if on the stream you can actually see the players, but I know there's still a work in progress. But yeah, that's pretty awesome that we have that stuff in there now, because I also like to do, at the end of these streams, I usually do like commentary on a game. And sometimes it's like, well, there's a fly ball, and it's like, I don't know what happened until the play-by-play tells me. But
yeah, so I've definitely been working a lot on that too, and it's still a work in progress. Don't want anyone to get their hopes too far up of a little guy running around with his jersey on or anything. It's essentially like big pawns moving around on the field.
Yeah, it reminds
me.
But
it's pretty awesome though when you actually watch the plays, look nice, and you get a nice, around the horn double play, or a guy makes the running grab all the way through the outfield to catch it. It's pretty cool.
We just said the beautiful redesigned game interface. Yeah, and the new interface is also much more optimized, so things should be going a little faster for you there. More automatically generated game headlines and recaps, which I know people love that stuff as well. Better trading and defined team needs. I've been in the boards. I've been on the Reddit. I've been on the Twitter. I've been on Facebook. I think people are going to be a lot happier now with the new trading and being able to define your team needs. even more realistic player career arcs, which is nice. It's weird because in real baseball, career arcs have changed like very dramatically in the last few years. Like going back to the late 90s and into the 2000s, players were playing into their late 30s and 40s at still high levels, but in the past 5 years, that's like dropped off. Your every need at your fingertips. I guess this is along the lines of the new restructured interface. So the menu that you're going to see in the main game when you go in. Another big thing is the multi-core processor support for this year. I think, did you work on that? Is that the one that killed you?
It didn't kill me. It's still killing me, but it's yeah, no, I did a lot of work on that. So not everything is faster and multi-threaded now, but a significant portion of it is. And we've run some tests, and it's 30 to 50 or 60% faster in a lot of cases. And then some spots are just like shopping a player now is like a joke compared to what it was before.
Yeah, I've been in the beta, and it's like mind-boggling how fast it's gotten. Jimmy Gibbs in the chat is in favor for some live gameplay of the new Pawns. Sadly, we can't stream Out of the Park 17 yet. Hopefully we'll be able to do it before the release so you guys can see it. But currently we are still not allowed to play the game on the stream. So you've been with the OOTP team for what now? Like 2 years now?
Just a year and a half, really.
Oh, so. It was late 2014, right?
Yeah, I basically started, somewhere around September, October 2014. So OOTP 16 was my introduction to the team and to the game. Well, not to the games. I'm playing the game since, I don't know, like 2003 or 2004 or something like that. But working on it for 16 and 17, so.
I'm just going to go into the Reddit and see if we can find some questions in there. I know there's some on the boards. But if anybody has any questions in the chat, feel free to post them, and we will get to them.
I'm happy to try to answer anything that people have.
Dun, 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 dun. Reddit's a fun place to be. With the new feature, defined team needs for trades, will this also improve the players on the trading block function?
So that's a good question. As the standard answer that I am delaying and procrastinating to figure out how I want to answer this. So the team needs right now, as of this minute, don't necessarily interact with the trading block. But I know I did. I think I saw that question somewhere else, or I've seen someone ask it. So we'll probably do a little bit more of melding in the team needs with the other stuff. Although on the flip side to that too, with all the other AI GM or GM AI, I don't know which order. the updated GM stuff they have a lot more personality and a lot more interest to them, I would say. So I think in a lot of cases, they're actually going to be able to craft a lot better trades overall. So they should be crafting better trades for the trading block players as they are. And the team needs is a whole nother set that we can work with. The trading block, we also play with a little bit too to make sure the AI teams actually put on the right players to the trading block that they should. So yeah, I guess the short answer is they will all work together to some extent, at least.
Okay. In the chat, we have Tej Dog. I'm going to say that's how you say that. In the historical minor league thing, are the draft classes authentic? So if I start a game with 2004 Mets, will the draft class for 2005 be in the game? I want to say they show up in their first year, so the drafts should be right.
I believe they should be right. I'm not an expert on the historical minor stuff, but as far as I'm aware, then yeah, players will show up in their. I'm not sure if they'll either be in their draft years or in the first year that they actually played minor league ball, which generally are the same thing. But yeah, certainly, I mean, going forwards, you'll be able to play, and players will show up at approximately the right time.
Yeah, I think it was that they will come in their first year.
I think they come in their draft years,
yeah.
if you have that, but.
Will we see AI teams retire uniform numbers more often in 17? Habs fan 18 thought it was a little too strict in 16.
Oh, was it too strict? Sorry about that. I know it's got really strict in, I think, one of the patches. I perhaps screwed up something in that code. But I believe I fixed it to be a little bit better in the later patches. I'm not sure how it ended up. We can certainly have a look through to see, but as far as I know, any player who spent a good portion of of their time on a specific team and has a Hall of Fame or pseudo Hall of Fame quality standing should get retired. If they're not, then we'll, look into that.
Okay. Have the blank green updates on scoring updates when in-game been fixed? This commonly occurs when players set or tie records in real life. This commonly occurs when players set or tie team records.
That I'm not sure. Sometimes we update fix a lot of bugs. Sometimes I don't know exactly what Marcus has touched to. So.
Yeah, and we're still coming towards the finish line of this game, so stuff's still.
Yeah, we still got a few weeks left before release, and then certainly the development never stops. So. If we don't hit something now, we'll hit something later too.
I think that is all from. Oh, let me check Twitter because I know people were asking on Twitter. And if you're not following on Twitter, at OOTP Baseball over there.
And in OOTP 17, you'll be able to tweet at players as well. So.
See. That was not written anywhere.
I don't think that was written anywhere, but we'll. I'm saying it now. It's going to be in the game. We'll see when I actually put it in. That's.
Any news on historical 3D parks like Polo Grounds and Ebbets Field?
So I know we've always wanted to get all the historical parks in, but the parks themselves have taken an awful lot of time to build, and they're quite complicated. So I don't think they're coming in for this year, but I think essentially the plan is over the next few years is we'll keep trying to add whatever we can add. So certainly if we're going to go through the historical parks, we're going to go through the Polo Grounds and Ebbets Field and some of the big ones from the past. It may take us a while to get down to the park that a minor league team played in 1952, but if we have the talent, at some point, I'm sure we'll get down there. But
okay, are financials ever going to be made more complicated?
Financials more complicated.
It'd be nice to have some more control over my money. Also, what exactly does scouting budget affect?
So we always keep playing with the financials. I mean, that's something that you got to kind of tweak with a little bit every year. Last year, we made a lot of changes to shore up the financial numbers so that they're at least consistent within the game. I think there were some spots before where, depending on what screen you looked at, you saw a different number for how much money you had to spend. In general, we just kind of keep moving forward. So the one thing this year that I don't think is kind of hinted at in the some of those GMs, when we mentioned they have more control over their scouting and drafting budgets. So I think we're opening up a few more budget categories that you can play with. So I think you'll be able to set your draft budgets and your international free agent budgets if your owner lets you, which is the other aspect of it. The owners may not let you set your own draft budget. But so we basically always keep, playing around a little bit more. And then we'll probably won't make it in for release, but I can guarantee it'll make it in at some point in a patch in the summer, as we're going to have some sort of inflation model in the game. Because I've been wanting that for years, and
Yeah, and I know people have also been asking about three-team trades, which I hear is really, really hard to program.
Yeah, I mean, that just adds a whole another level of complexity of trying to track three teams, and it's just a whole question of, you know, getting, once you start trying to get the AI to have a third team that it's trying to talk to, you just get so much more stuff that you have to think about. Another example that's similar to that is I know people have asked about when the shop a player to see if you can get multiple guys in return, for example. And the way I say that is, let's say your team you're trying to shop to has 150 players on it. If you shop a player and you want to check for each one, you got 150 checks you have to do. If you want them to check to return two players to you, now you have, I forget what the numbers are, but it's 20,000 checks or something like that.
Something
they have
crazy exponential high.
It's something crazy high, and that's just two checks. I mean, yeah, obviously you can do it, a little bit smarter in a lot of cases, but the more complexity you add, the more it just balloons out. So, yeah, three-team trades will be a long time if we ever find a way to get them going.
Are there more personality traits such as high work ethic? And do they have more or less effect on player performance?
So we haven't actually added any new personality traits this year. I know last year we added 2 or 3 of them, I think. So we haven't added any new ones, but we have refined a little bit more about how the personality traits interact with the GM or the managers a bit. And I think we're basically always keep moving forward to making sure that the personality system gives you an interesting gameplay aspect that's not obviously dominating your game, but it's got enough that you're paying attention to it.
Okay. H-Pawn asks, do you have any plans on improving the way career-ending injuries are handled?
Well, we always have plans, whether stuff happens or not. So I know in the last 2 days, I know Marcus has done some changes to some of the career-ending injuries to make sure that they're a little bit more realistic to modern day. I don't know if we have sort of a massive change planned on that.
And he says, for instance, back in the day, ratings changes happened all at once at the beginning of the year, and it was changed so that the change was spread out.
Yeah, so I don't think we have any big changes right now planned for sort of a massive revamp of the injury system. It was on our initial list of things that we wanted to do for this year, and time and other factors got in the way. So we definitely have that on the list for the future, but probably not for this year.
Tryhard Gaming asks, will there be better support for Retina displays? I know that's going to require pretty much a whole graphical rewrite of the game, pretty much, right? Something.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not an expert on the Mac Retina stuff. I don't believe that's in our time frame right now.
Yeah, and I thought the Mac supported something where if something an app wasn't set for high DPI, that it would just run it normal.
Yeah, so I think it's. I mean, I think I'm not sure if it defaults to that, but I know if you have it that way, there's a one button click that you basically change the link to say if it opens in high Retina or high DPI mode or regular mode. Yeah. So you just switch that and it opens in the regular mode and it looks like normal. I mean, it'd be nice to have the high DPI. You can have more stuff on the screen, or maybe it'll be a little bit crisper. But I think it takes a lot of work to do.
With high DPI, you can have all the menus at once. If you want to be a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, it might be a little bit overkill. I still complain sometimes about how am I having too much info on the screen for some of our ones, but
about GM trades, meaning in July, would some GMs prefer minor league players as opposed to majors as their team is out of contention?
So that, yes, I've definitely done some tweaks on that to make sure that teams are much more aware of their current situation, so that they will definitely be pawning off guys in their last year if they're out of contention, trying to trade for minor league players, and then so some of that too with the new AI or the new. I have to figure out how to say this. The new GM AI stuff. Essentially, every GM is going to have a lot more ratings. I think there's like 10 or 12 new ratings they're in, ranging from trading frequency to some of them will be, how much does this GM prefer minor leaguers versus major leaguers versus yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So basically, some guys are just going to be more wanting to trade for minor leaguers all the time, but obviously they're always going to take into account their actual team position.
Right. Is search by nickname going to be implemented?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, maybe if there's a real demand for it, it could probably get it in at some point, but I don't think that's necessarily on the docket right
now. With highlights, will we be able to add to the story manually?
I assume that means with the game replay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Is how I read that. So yeah, I mean the one of the, in some sense, coolest parts and laziest parts about the game replay is we've actually always essentially had the notion you could write your own replay for a game or your own recap for a game. So after the game goes, you can basically open up the box score and there's an edit button somewhere that you could write your own text. So essentially, all the auto recap stuff does is we generate the story and plop it in that field. So if you want to go in afterwards and touch it up and change it however you want, you're more than welcome to. We just build the basic for you. And the basics are pretty fun because they're, we can actually do some interesting stuff in there. So.
Any more questions from the chat? If not, I come to the most important question. Would you rather watch the all-time Mets versus the all-time Nationals / Expos, or the all-time Orioles against the all-time Blue Jays?
Oh. Well, that might come down to how many Nationals there are on that Expos team.
I'm pulling it up right now. It looks like Ryan Zimmerman, Alfonso Soriano, Jason Worth was never an Expo, nor was Ian Desmond, nor was Steven Strasburg.
Ian Desmond was drafted by the Expos, I believe. I remember the stories of when they're talking about who the last Expo was. He was one of the last guys who came up through their system, but obviously never put on the jersey.
I wonder if Baseball Reference actually says that. Drafted by the Expos in the 3rd round of 2004 draft.
I know some stats. So. Bartolo Colon is our last remaining Expo out there right now.
I feel like he might end up playing forever.
Yeah, I know. I remember reading an article. I don't know. It was like at least 5 years ago, basically saying like, who's going to be the last Expo, and they went through. There's like 5 or 6 guys at that time, and Cologne at that point was like the oldest one, but it was Cologne. Like Ayala was one.
Oh, don't tell me Bruce Chen retired. He was only on the Expos for about 2 months in 2002.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's pitched in a couple of years, has he?
He pitched for the Royals in 14 and the Indians in 15. I mean, he got 1 start with the Indians, or 2 starts with the Indians in 15, for a total of 6 innings. So I don't know if he signed with anybody. He would be the guy that would end up going for another like 20 years, and we'd never know.
If he only had 6 innings last year, it's unlikely. That's my guess. But yeah, it's right now it's looking like Cologne. So
in May of 2015, he voluntarily retired from the Indians.
Okay.
And Cliff Lee never played for the Expos, right? He was traded before he was there.
Yeah, Lee was part of the as I always like to say, the best deal in Montreal Expos history. Because it was Lee Sizemore and Phillips.
And Lee Stevens. Don't forget him.
Oh, well.
Yeah, for Cologne and Drew. Right?
Yeah. But, to get rid of those 3 highly rated prospects, and to not have them on the Nationals for those first few years was definitely a nice for a true Expos fan who was never really a Nationals fan.
Will the option to eat contracts ever be implemented, or adding player to be named later in trades?
Player to be named later is my guess is no. I think the logic of that is just way too weird to figure out, and it's not just the logic, but it's also I have a feeling that's going to be way too easy to like cheat the AI on and saying, oh, I'm going to give you a player to be named later, and then you, how are they going to pick that? Or so that's a problem. The eating contracts or retaining salary in trades, that's definitely not going to make it in for the release time, but no promises, but I'm going to guess sometime around May or June I'll have time to get around to that. So another one where I've wanted in for eons now, and once we get past the crunch of release, I'll have a little bit more spare time to actually do stuff like that.
Last year's player pop-ups and award icons were one of JCP's favorite little features. What little surprises will we get this year?
Well, I think if we tell you right now, they're not really going to be surprises. So.
Yeah, you wanna start it up and be amazed.
But those pop-ups and little icons were like insane. When Marcus first showed me that, I was just like, oh my god, that's awesome. So I'm sure he'll like send me an email tomorrow being like, here's a new feature that I just put in yesterday, and it'll be another like cool thing. But
when will 16:9 support happen for online league sims?
What does 16:9 support mean?
No idea. People want to gamble in the game. I'm pretty sure the MLB would not be happy with that.
Yeah, I don't think gambling's coming in, at least inside the game. That would be a whole new mess of stuff to go with. But
yeah. Will it be possible to reactivate an inactive team?
I believe the answer is no, but I'm not positive on that, and I'm not sure exactly why all their problems with that. But I think the answer right now is no. We basically deactivate a team and then start up a new team later if we have that for the historical minor leagues. Because the other cool part of the historical minor leagues is they shift and change every year. So I believe we track all that stuff automatically. So that's gonna be cool to watch your teams, move around and so on.
Will there be an option where a player has a 10-year, 5-year, same club, no trade clause, where the team could ask a player what 3 to 5 teams he'd be willing to be traded to?
So we don't have that explicitly right now. I mean, we have the 10-5 the 10-5 rule is in the game. So if a player is a 10-5 player, has a no trade clause, that's all been in the game so far. We don't have any notion right now of asking the player where he would be willing to be traded to. Currently, you kind of have to like put him into a deal, and he'll say no or yes. I'm not sure if we're gonna put that in at some point. It's one of those things where I just kind of go back and forth of saying, well, it'd be nice to be able to ask him, where do you want to be traded to, but does that kind of take away from the no trade clause stuff? But yeah.
Any insight on how WAR is calculated, or is that top secret information? I can't even figure out how WAR is calculated in real life.
Well, if you go to fangraphs.com and search for WAR, the calculations that we do in the game are, we try to get them as close as possible to how they're calculated there. So.
Well, it's very simple. It's a simple number. It's a single number that represents the number of wins the player added to the team above a replacement player, think AAA or quadruple A, would add. Scale for a single season: 8+ for MVP quality, 5+ for All-Star quality, 2+ for a starter, 0 to 2 for reserve, less than 0 for replacement. It's simple.
Yeah, no, it's a simple calculation, but there's no secrets in how we calculate it. Honestly, most of the time whenever we play with the calculations, we just kind of like take up a stat line from a player and see what their WAR comes out on Fangraphs and Baseball Reference or whatever, and then check what the WAR comes out with in the game. If they're close, then we know we're not too far off. If we're massively different, then we poke around and see what we calculate. So,
you know what I'm going to do, just because for sake of time, I'm going to start up this Blue Jays Orioles sim so people can see that in the background.
all right.
But at the top of the hour, Adam and I believe Jeff will be taking over the stream, talking about Franchise Hockey Manager 2. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're continuing their Winnipeg Jets thing tonight. But let me start this up real quick. For the Orioles, Brian Roberts, Cal Ripken Jr., Ken Williams, Frank Robinson, Eddie Murray. Happy birthday, Eddie Murray. One of the 5 members of the 500 home run, 3,000 hit club. Chris Hoyles, Harlan Clift, Brooks Robinson, Paul Blair, with Moose on the mound. This Blue Jays team is essentially the Blue Jays team I watched growing up. This is done with Cooperstown's all-time quick start rosters. Devon White in center, John Olerud at first, Joe Carter in left, Carlos Delgado at DH, Jose Batista at third. Interesting. Sean Green in right, Roberto Alomar at second, Josh Phelps catching. Jeez. Tony Fernandez at short. Yeah. Maybe let me see. Let me see their bench. Do they have anybody?
At least gotta throw Borders into the.
They have Ernie Witt.
Yeah, what's not bad.
Yeah, give me Borders. Give me Charlie O'Brien, because I think he brought the hockey-style catcher's mask to MLB with the Blue Jays. But yeah, this is like the team that I remember like growing up in the early 90s.
Well, I mean, if you're going to take their best team overall, it's going to have a lot of the guys from the World Series win years.
Yeah, Jose Batista playing third base.
Well, I mean, he played there for a few years, and
he does have I have the 1 to 20 ratings. He's got 14 infield range, so that's good. 15 arm, so he might do good. This would help if I take out the thing that's blocking the game on the stream, huh? All right, let me start this up. And again, this is Out of the Park 16. We can't show Out of the Park 17 yet. I think one of the first... I want to say one of the first games I went to was a Yankees-Blue Jays game. But that seems like it's got to be wrong. But who knows? Let me turn off the pause after every play. Let's see. 16 by 9 for real-time simulation, where you can only see 2 columns of games with dead space on most of the screen. Can you implement real-time sims to show up on the entire screen? That seems like a super in-depth question that should be definitely asked on the OOTP developments boards.
Yeah, stuff like that. I know we've played around a little bit with what shows up on the when you look at the scores page, stuff gets aligned differently. And I mean, honestly, almost every screen gets a look at some point to, if a column needs to get shifted a little bit wider or, move stuff around to make it make sense. We definitely always do that. So.
Will there ever be a create your own player mode in the game? Not just OOTP 17, but in the future.
I mean, I'm never going to say no for anything. I'm not sure. I don't think we necessarily have a plan, at least for I think it's like the old inside the park or whatever it was, where you could like follow your player through the minor leagues. I mean, if you're in the game, you can create a player anytime. But
oh man, the Baltimore already jumped out to a 1-0 lead. Game just started. Can we have the option to get rid of the reputation for coaches and bring back ratings?
You should join the beta board discussion forums.
What are the chances?
We always play around and figure out what makes sense to show and what makes sense to not show. So unfortunately, that's some of the stuff that's always got a little bit of arguments going. But
my game is doing this wonky thing again. But now I've learned how to fix it. Alright. Yeah, sometimes on the stream, it gets weird hatch thing on it. But we finally figured out how to fix that, so the stream should be a lot better now. Can we get contracts of more than 10 years?
Not right now.
I mean, are Reds fans really happy with that Joey Votto contract?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as there are more and more cases of contracts that get longer than 10, maybe we'll think about upgrading it to longer, but for now, I think 10 is reasonable. You know, so Stanton shows up with 1 year or 2 years less in the game than he does in his real contract. That's not the end of the world from my opinion.
Why can't we take part of a contract each year? I think we discussed that already.
Yeah, that'll be coming in the summer at some point.
Will there also be the elimination number in the standings?
I don't think we have plans for that. I mean, I think you can see that fairly easily. I mean, the game's behind stuff, but it's just something where there's kind of only so much space we can show on the screen, so...
Good news, the Blue Jays scored 2 in the bottom of the second, so they're up 2-1. Can we add the competitive balance lottery?
So this is Josh Phelps who hit the home run, the guy we were complaining about?
Yep, same.
Sorry, what's...
the competitive balance lottery.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, we'll always look into that to see how easy it is or if it makes sense to throw in. I think it's certainly at some point we'll definitely want to, and we always make sure that we try to get the rules as good as we can. I know there's a lot of stuff on some of the international free agents too, where we, aren't doing the exact MLB rules for that, but for all that stuff, we just kind of have to look at it, and at some point we'll, add it in if it makes sense to do.
Will there be keyboard shortcuts?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I thought there was...
I know there's some right now. I'm not sure what exactly we have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can set... don't quote me on this, but I thought if you set, bookmarks, they're somehow tied to keyboard shortcuts too or something. It's the feature that Marcus always wants people to use, but no one ever seems to do it.
What are the chances that we get promotion relegation? Is that a thing somewhere that I don't know about?
In baseball, no, but it's massive in the soccer,
definitely in
football
world. So I guess that's more for when they're doing their fantasy leagues and stuff.
Yeah, it's more if you want to do your own league and do a promo relegation league. I know my brother mentioned he's running a promo relegation one, his OHB 16 sim right now. So, you can do it manually just by basically moving the teams. To get the AI to figure out, oh, my team is in danger of being relegated, how do I do this? Or their home run?
I don't know, but they've had an offensive explosion. They're up 6-1.
3-run home run by Sean. Sorry, I guess watching the screen a little bit. But yeah, so I think it's promo relegation. It's there's a few people who would love to have it, but it's a few people, and it takes a lot of effort from our end to do it. So, I'd love to be able to add all these things in, but there's only so many hours in the day that we have.
You just have to trick the MLB into implementing it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if the MLB goes to the promo relegation and they want to, relegate the Marlins to a AAA team next year or something, then,
man,
yeah.
I just had explained to me how the D League in basketball works. That sounds like a nightmare. Where players are on teams, but whatever team they're on doesn't necessarily go with the team that they're signed by. That seems very complicated to me.
If you look at the rules, I know we've got a few people who know all the rules of this stuff. There's some leagues that have split seasons where the second half teams are semi all-stars of the first half teams. I forget if that's a Korean league or a Japanese league in there maybe or something.
Crazy. Will teams ever want to move due to lack of attendance?
I'm just trying to remember what our logic on that is. I believe now if you have the
2 more runs for the Blue Jays. Jeez.
8-1. Oof. Not so much for Mosina there, I guess.
That Paul Belair 2-bagger.
But no, I'm trying to remember, but I think if you have the auto development stuff where teams actually do move, I mean the teams that we picked to move, I believe, were based on the ones who have, the lowest attendance over the last few years or the most to get in at some point in the game. Like there's so much cool stuff you could have happen with that, of stadiums growing in size, or a team decides to build a new stadium in a different part of town, or all that sort of stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, some of that for why stadiums don't grow in size. Well, I mean, if you're watching in the 3D, it's going to be a little bit weird because we can't change your 3D model on that too. But I mean, there is more stuff that we can do with that, certainly. But
I think way down the line, isn't there there's been talk of a stadium creator.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the ones that Marcus wants to have a stadium creator in. So if there's anything that's going to get in the game more than something that I want in the game, it's something that Marcus wants into the game. So
yeah, and the best way to get that information to Marcus is going on the OOTP developments.com forums. He's in there all the time talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I lost my spot in the chat. Will there be an option to have all newly generated coaches with 0 years of experience? It would be nice to see guys generate reputation as they climb through the ranks. I already yelled at someone today because Theo Epstein is like an average manager or an average GM. I was like, I don't know if that's true.
Well, a lot of that's based on, I know we need to work on some of that reputation stuff. I have some ideas in the back of my head that are mulling over, but I'm not sure when they'll come in to be able to get that going. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could do with that. But
what made us change from Pagoda to Zips?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to say, but I believe essentially there were some changes in how people wanted stuff going, so we decided to move to Zips, and I think everyone will be happier for it.
Yeah, I feel like when the Pagoda rankings come out, they're always too low for really good teams without superstars. You know what I mean? Like the Royals, they have like 1 or 2 stars, but they're a solid team, and Pagoda usually knocks them down for that.
A lot of the projection systems don't really like the Royals.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of unique about something about their team that's going on with that. But no, I mean, I know in the past we've taken the Pagoda rankings, and I mean, there's on the internal boards, our roster team go through and basically re-rank everyone anyways. So I believe there's been a lot less of that going on with Zips this year. So I think the ratings are going to go a lot nicer, a lot smoother.
And the offensive explosion for the Blue Jays continues. They're now up 12-2, going into the bottom of the 6th.
It's like the modern day Blue Jays against the. I was gonna say against the Orioles, but they're not that bad of a team. So.
Yeah, they just got Giovanni Gallardo too. Oh,
well, I think he had a physical issue, so I don't think they got him. They signed Fowler.
No, they ended up giving him 2 years with an option.
Oh, did they?
Okay. Someone was asking on Twitter if we will add shady. How did they put it? Shady medical professionals in the game. Any plans to add Oriole-style medical exam shenanigans?
I mean, that's, it's a joke, but in some sense, it would be really neat at some point if you could, like, execute a trade and then it would come back and saying, so-and-so has, like, failed his physical. Do you want to, like, reconsider or something like that? But
that guy also wants to know if we can put guys on the DL with fake injuries.
Well, there's this thing called the editor. So if you want to edit a player, you can edit a player and give him an injury and then put him on the DL. So it's the sort of game where you can do whatever you want with that, but obviously we're not going to let you cheat unless if you're in the cheat mode.
Will the AI on free agents ever be fixed for interleague free agent bidding? At this point, if you have a free agent that can be signed by multiple leagues, he'll take a similar deal if the financials make it seem better in the options for a given league.
I'm not sure what's going on with that, but 15-2 now? Wow. I mean, again, free agent logic is always something that we poke around with. I know there's also been some complaints or issues about players who don't sign enough, minor league deals with major league options sort of stuff too. So I think it's somewhere on my plans to do a little bit of pass through some of the free agent financial logic. So multi-league sort of offers are something that we can definitely look into. And I think we fixed up some bugs where a guy will like auto sign with an independent league for some weird reason, even though he could get a major league deal for someone else.
Will there be more pitches added to the game ever?
Well, ever. At some point, yeah. But as far as I'm aware, there's no pitcher that throws a pitch that's not already in the game, essentially.
Is there a way to turn off the trade deadline?
I believe so. I think it's a date in the game, so at the very least you can set it some weird date in the future or something.
Will it be possible to customize what team a player goes into the Hall of Fame as?
That, no, right now we basically auto-calculate that. I mean, at some point in the future we might decide to, but to me that's somewhat of a minor point. Although, speaking back to our Expos talks before, I know when I first put the Hall of Fame stuff on, when I first saw, Andre Dawson in the Hall of Fame with the Washington Nationals logo on it, I immediately went through and made sure I fixed that to show the correct logo for players.
Any way to get a jersey number history? I don't know if that's for a single player.
Yeah, I think that I've seen that question asked before for a single player. Essentially, right now we basically only store one jersey number as opposed to like a jersey number per year. So, again, that's something that, I mean, I've seen it. I acknowledge it. I believe it should be in there. We should have a jersey number per year for a player. I kind of know where in the game I can add that, and I think I know how to do it. I just need to find time to do it.
We've got about 5 more minutes left. Let's see how much more of this we can get through. Slot bonuses for the draft.
Well, that's already in, so.
Strategy getting an update. For example, an option where I can give a specific player come in during late close games.
So some of that. So one of the things we did add, I just played around with it last week, is now you can basically set relievers as another one of these bullpen usage stuff as like a high leverage reliever. So you'll be able to specify essentially which relievers the AI will come in the high leverage cases, and on the flip side, be able to specify, please, dear God, don't let the AI bring this reliever in a high leverage situation, unless if I have no one else who's rested. So,
are we ever going to assign a catcher to a pitcher? Tryhard Gaming doesn't really care if it's not really that popular in real life, but why not?
Oh, the designated pitcher stuff. That's another one that I've seen it asked about. I think there's a certain amount of logic to it, just for sake of it be interesting. So at some point we might get something like that going, but I'm not sure when.
I think we talked about contract options. More specifically, will there be opt-outs?
Opt-outs, yes.
Why isn't Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame? I think the career just too short is the main thing right there, right?
Yeah, as you look at his numbers, he's not that great overall. I mean, he had some good years, and he's certainly one of those guys in the Hall of Very Good, but not necessarily the Hall of Fame.
Would it be possible to add a player's top 100 career leaderboard ranks somewhere on the player card?
You can see their leaderboard ranks per season on the spot. I guess talking about career ones, at some point I'm sure I can make it in. It sounds interesting enough to think about. So.
With the historical, I forget what we called it, the historical exhibition stuff, any chance they'll ever be able to do that with fictional leagues? I'm going to say no for right now.
Yeah, that's definitely not coming in anytime soon. It'd be awesome to do it. And, I mean, there's some stuff we definitely do to make sure that the fictional leagues are cool and interesting. And I know people have also wanted well, what if could I take my fictional league and replay the fictional league so my fictional players come in drafting when they got drafted in my fictional league and do that? And that's well, I mean.
Yep. Any improvements on keeping career stats for players, such as against home and away against teams, and on the career page, his stats or how he did with a former team?
I mean, a lot of that stuff with just keeping stats around is just the amount of stats that you can keep about stuff when you get into all these splits and close and late games is just mind-boggling, the amount of space and stuff it takes up. So I don't necessarily want your league file to be a terabyte large.
Okay, rapid fire time. You ready?
All right.
Any chance of agents being put into the game?
Some point, maybe, probably not anytime soon.
Will coaches ever be able to get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, at some point probably, but not anytime soon.
How many hot dogs do you think Pablo Sandoval could eat in one sitting?
I think he have 15 cheesesteaks in a weekend or something like that. Was it, or was that?
Here's what's weird. I don't believe his weight, because they say he's 265 or something, and I'm a little taller than him, and I don't think I'm that much bigger than him, but I weigh a lot more than him. So I don't know if some of these baseball players are having the WWE wrestling stats where they're 7'5" and 700 pounds, but I think that might be a little weird.
Yeah, no, I think they also shift by 20 pounds depending on how much work they put in. So,
any changes to the international leagues?
I personally don't know exactly what we've changed, but we try to follow stuff as best we can.
Definitely cannot use PEDs, right? PED suspensions and not in the game. I'm assuming MLB will not allow that.
In fictional leagues, you can have PED suspensions, but MLB leagues do not.
Could we have vesting options based on performance?
There are vesting options in the game already. They've been in for a few years now, at least.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking at with my when I do this Braves one. They have 2 or 3 guys, I think, this year that need 550 at-bats to get an extra year.
So 540 at-bats for the next 10 days, right?
Yep. I don't think they'll be anywhere near that, so we'll be fine.
That would be the MLBPA coming in and suing your team for maybe an OOTP, 36 or something. We'll have that in. But
what's your 2016 predicted World Series winner, and why is it the Red Sox?
I don't think it's the Red Sox. I don't know. Cubs or Dodgers are the most likely, but you could pretty much flip a coin between 10 or 12 teams and make a case for any of them.
Will we be able to vote for MVP and Cy Young like we can for All-Star and Hall of Fame?
I want to do that at some point, but we definitely don't have time for now.
All right. Would you give a pitcher a $40 million a year contract?
Well, if I could sign Kershaw for a 3-year contract, yeah.
Ooh, can we do the crazy? We need to add the John Lackey thing, where it's if you get Tommy John surgery, I get an extra year for $500K.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty cool to do, but again, have the AI try to figure out what the value of that is would just be mind-blowingly crazy. So
Yeah. Yeah, Adam's probably ready to kick us off right now. So, Matt, thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate it.
oh, thanks for having me.
We'll probably try to have you on again. I definitely know
Yeah.
I want to get the roster guys on to talk about these historical rosters because that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And the work that the roster guys do is like mind-blowing. Like I do not understand how they do what they do and how we have the rosters and stats that we do.
Good news: the Blue Jays won 15-3. And if there was any questions we didn't get to, please go to ootpdevelopments.com, sign up for the forums there, and ask them there. I think all the developers are answering the questions that you have there. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at OOTPBaseball. Also, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/OOTPBaseball. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Twitch channel. We do streams every Wednesday night. Normally, it's OOTP Baseball from 9 to 10, and then 10 to 11 is Franchise Hockey Manager. Those are Eastern times. I think that's it. Thank you again very much for coming, Matt.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. This will be up on youtube.com/OTP Developments in a couple days. And you can rewatch all these great answers to these questions. See you guys later.